Okay, I'm gonna do the best that I can to not give out too many spoilers to this movie because this movie is fantastic and you definitely need to watch it. So, right up front, I highly recommend this movie. We'll give it like a 9 out of 10. I'm not gonna say 10 out of 10 because that's a little much. But for real, The Orphan is a fantastic movie. I'm gonna give you the plot a little bit. We'll talk about the characters a tad. I'm just gonna be upfront with you. I suck with names, so I'm not even gonna try to give you the actors and actresses' names because I'm terrible. However, I can tell you, if they play in something or whatnot. So here we go. The Orphan. It's a pretty typical family. Literally, they have the most basic names ever. It is John and Kate. And Kate is the same lady who plays Mrs. Warren in the Conjuring films. And she does fantastic in this movie. No flaws with that one. Her husband, John, he is awesome too because it got to a point in the movie where I hated him completely and just thought he was the worst. They have a son named Daniel and a little girl named Max who is deaf. Kate wants to adopt a kid because she had so she lost the baby, and so she wants to adopt, and that was difficult too because Kate, had a lot of issues, and rightfully so. I mean, she lost her baby, and so she was having some issues. She liked to whine a little too much, which, I don't know. To me, that wasn't as bad because they were, I was expecting like, heavy alcoholic, and they were like, stop with the wine, and I was like, oh, wine, that's okay. I mean, she's got 2 kids. I mean, I don't know a mom who doesn't want some wine, you know what I'm saying? So they wanted to adopt, and Kate's finally like, I'm good now. She talks to her therapist, and we're off. So they adopt this girl. Her name is Esther, and honestly, she's charming. She's really charming. But very quickly you realize that homegirl's creepy, and there's something sketch with her because it shows her painting, and her paintings are way, 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 way more mature than the paintings of a child. Things start to get weird, like she starts to be able to play like the piano very, very well all of a sudden. There's a scene involving a bird, and then, shit really starts to get weird. She kills the bird in front of the little girl and the little boy. And so Kate is starting to notice, like, hey, something is really weird here because Esther is very loving towards John, the father. And so, John is always defending Esther and is like, no, she's our daughter and da da da. Max, loves her at first, but then, that kind of changes. And Daniel does not like her at all. He knows right from the beginning this girl is no good. So, yeah. And things really don't get any better. I don't want to spoil it because there's a lot of manipulation scenes in here, and they are very, very important. So I'm not going to give the spoilers of that away because they're, to me, extremely important to the flow of the film, and I don't want to mess that up for anybody. So if you're looking for spoilers, I'm so sorry. It's just not for me. Anyway, Kate is like, hey, things are kind of weird. I'm going to do some research. And then that's when this movie just takes a nosedive. Like, as soon as she starts to, hey, I'm going to start, investigating, Esther's like, all right, we're going to crank this up to a 10. And, like, she goes hard. Come to find out, the adoption center's like, yeah, we have, like, no information on her. We don't know where she, we think we know where she came from, but we really don't even know how she got here. We don't really know who she is or anything like that. Kate finally figures out, where she's at. It's called the Sarn Institute. Well, plot twist, Esther is not necessarily a child. And the Sarn Institute is not necessarily an orphanage either. Long story short, this little girl that is in their house, A, is not a little girl at all, and B, she is really, really dangerous. And that's when this movie goes to a whole new level. And to be honest, I really didn't think that they were going to just crank it up that high at the end. I really didn't. And I mean, I applaud this movie for that. So if you're looking for a movie with a great build overall, this is for you. Very, very creepy, subtle, not a lot of jump scares, just a creepy atmosphere, a lot of blues. If you know what I mean by that, just that creepy blue tint. And I mean, they do it to great effect. That's pretty much the basic plot of the movie. I'm not going to give, too much detail on that. Right now, we're just going to talk about the things that I really liked and kind of disliked about this movie. There's really not a lot that I disliked. Overall, this movie was really, really good. I really enjoyed the psychological and manipulation part of this film. I don't know. When you think about it, that could definitely happen, okay? When you adopt a kid, back in the day at least, I don't really know about now. I feel like now this would be a lot harder to happen, or maybe easier, I don't know. But you just don't know where these kids come from, and sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. And I don't know, just the thought of like, hey, well, this kind of could happen if you really think about it. And it was based on a true story, just makes it even scarier. Now, I know this probably is way, way, way jacked up crazier than what really occurred because Hollywood, and that's just what has to happen. But for the movie itself, it still could happen. It didn't seem too far out to me. It seemed like something that could definitely happen. Another really random thing that I thought was super cool about this movie was having a deaf character. I think it was super effective in The Quiet Place, and I also thought it was effective in Orphan. And I know that, Max and the character in, A Quiet Place and the settings of those two movies are completely different. But it makes it so much creepier having somebody who is really unable to hear just be, twisted around in these ways. And it added for a lot more emotional attachment in the movie. The only thing that I really wish would have been different is I wish Esther would not have been so kind of creepy from the beginning. And not necessarily creepy, but just when you first meet her and just hearing her, you're like, yeah, she's not an innocent little girl. I wish they would have shown some attachment and some, whatever at the beginning a little bit longer before, homegirl girl goes kind of bonkers. So that's the only thing that I really criticized about this movie was I just wish we had more normalcy with Esther and the family interactions at the beginning and then a slow switch. I will say that there is one scene in particular, and I'm not gonna necessarily give you the details of this scene because it's kind of gruesome, but it's the intro of this movie. It is an extremely strong intro, and I definitely think that it needs more recognition. I was just talking about it the other day on, I don't know, it was some form of social media, but just how crazy the introduction to this movie is. And I mean, honestly, it is probably the most brutal scene in the movie for the majority of the movie until the end. It is just super gruesome, and it's very, very deep and very, very emotional, and it has to do with kind of why Kate, what happened when she lost the child, why she is so hurt and just, her issues and struggles. So I don't know, the introduction scene in this movie, A+. Overall, this movie is definitely worth the buy and worth the watch. So if you have not watched The Orphan, I definitely recommend it. If you would like me to do a spoiler review of this movie later on, drop that in the comments. If there is any other movies you would like me to talk about, also drop those in the comments. Do not forget to like and subscribe, and please share. Thank you so much. Don't forget to keep it creepy, and I'll see you next time.